something that belongs to the people and is a common, and make it illegal for them to have it. And then you'll get revenues and you'll have monopoly. Brilliant economic system, and all of the contemporary economy is based on this kind of monopoly and rental from the commons. So Gandhi started the salt satyagraha. He walked to the beach in 1930 and picked up the salt from the sea and said, nature gives it for free. We need it for our survival. We will continue to make salt. We will not obey your laws. One level Extinction Rebellion is this idea: we will not cooperate with your destructive system. You know? And Gandhi, even earlier when he was in South Africa and was fighting against the founding of apartheid, because Indians were being asked to register as Indians, blacks were being asked to register as blacks. And he had been thrown out of a train, even though he was a lawyer and traveling first class. They said, no, you can't. Racism was the foundation of apartheid. And that's when he refined what he has said in his writings, something he learned from Indian civilization, how democracy is the refusal to cooperate with rulers who operate on unjust law and brutal law, to not cooperate with. And he said, as long as the superstition exists that unjust law must be obeyed, so long will slavery exist. Now, a little south of here, you had your own Thoreau, who refused to participate in slavery and refused to pay the poll tax. And his civil disobedience, which energized Gandhi to look deeper into Indian practice, historically, of non-cooperation. And then he created the word satyagraha, the force of truth. And 2 years ago, I did a journey for freedom. It was 100 years of his not cooperating with forced indigo cultivation, a very big issue during colonialism. And he had been threatened that he'd be arrested if he came. And so he said, you can arrest me, but my duty is to be with my brothers and sisters for their freedom. And then the evidence he gave in that court is in the memorial today, and it's very powerful evidence. It says, I am guided, my conscience is guided by higher law. That time he was talking about human rights and justice. I have added the earth's rights for our contemporary times. And he says, because my conscience is guided by a higher law, I am compelled to not obey your law, which comes from a lower level. And you can work on your law and arrest me, and that's fine. But my duty to my conscience says I will not obey your laws. So this idea of satyagraha was with me from the days of Chipko. And when in 1984, India erupted in two very, very violent episodes. One was the land where the chemical farming was first introduced, which is the land of Punjab, which means the land of 5 rivers. And that's where I'd done my MSc Honours in particle physics before going to Canada to do my foundations of quantum theory. It was a very prosperous land and a very peaceful land. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone for my master's there. But in a decade, it was really a land of extremism and terrorism. But that's what the narrative said. I said, this must be looked at. And when I looked, it was really farmers' protests. And my book, The Violence of the Green Revolution, gives these details. Same year, a pesticide plant leaked in the city of Bhopal and killed thousands. And between those two, I said, why? Why do we use pesticides? Where did they come from? Busy with little psi function, innocent, totally innocent about what was happening in agriculture. And that's when I realized all chemicals in farming came from war, from Hitler's Germany, from concentration camps, from poison gases, from technologies to make explosives, which became the technologies for chemical fertilizers. And I took a pledge in 1984, and when I did the study, I will now dedicate my life to figuring out agriculture and promoting a non-violent farming. And because Sterling has such a close connection with the Wendell Berry Center, I said, this hasn't worked in India. You know, in a decade, it has made the most prosperous land a devastation. The rivers are dying, the soils are dying, the farmers are dying, and every fourth young person is a drug addict. There's a cancer train that goes from Punjab. Its name is the cancer train. I said, how could it happen so fast? And how did it work so well in America, that America is very prosperous? Because, you know, what you read about America is the prosperity. We feed the world. Till I read Wendell's Unsettling of America. I said, oh, Punjab got unsettled, America got unsettled, the planets got unsettled. Yeah? And that story doesn't get told, it doesn't reach. And even today, if you read about Punjab, you'll hear the violence as religious. It wasn't. It was a farmers' protest. And they said, if we can't decide what we'll grow, if we can't decide the price it will sell at, if we can't decide when the water of our rivers will reach our fields, we are living under slavery. That was their declaration. And the army was sent to crush them. And then the violence hasn't stopped. Indira Gandhi was assassinated, and the story carries on. So the search for non-violent farming took me to Albert Howard. I found one tattered copy in our agriculture ministry. And then we started to reprint it. Howard had been sent in 1905 to India to improve Indian agriculture. That's the problem, you know, with us. We're always being improved. And therefore, we know that the word improvement isn't an innocent word. You know? And Howard arrived, and because he was a deep scientist, and he and his wife, actually, most of the time people forget his wife. He sent to Pusa to set up the new agriculture university on modern scientific principles. And he arrives and sees the soils are fertile. There are no pests in the field. Lots of insects, but no pest damage. And he said, I will make the pest and the peasant my professor. And he wrote a book called The Agricultural Testament. And in 2015 was the year of soil, and we wanted to celebrate Harvard's contribution because he is known as the father of modern organic farming on the basis of that book. Rodale reprinted it for America, and the work of the Rodale Institute is inspired by that, which means it's inspired by nature, it's inspired by centuries of agrarian culture and agrarian knowledge. And UK, the Soil Association, was started by that. So 2015, when we did the soil journey, Will, who's here with us, joined our soil pilgrimage. We went to the lab, we found the lab where he had worked. It's been forgotten. And I want that lab of Harvard's to be recognized as a place where we remembered how to do good farming. And the second was the unsettling of America. Those two. I mean, I knew what good farming looked like, but it wasn't in a book.